Hmm. Oh. uh, you saw nothing? Welcome back, everybody, to another power ranking video here at I'm Not a Coach. I'm your host, Dave Huerta. We got an exciting week coming up here, week 12 coming at you, and we got a few surprises on this list. But we're first going to start out with some honorable mentions. First, we're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins. They are looking a lot better with Tua. It looks like that offense is finally hitting its stride, and that defense is starting to play really darn good as well. And they got a pretty favorable schedule the remaining couple games here. I could easily see this team winning 3 to 4 relatively easy, and if they can steal one, maybe two on some of their tougher ones, we could really see this team try and push for that 7th seed in the AFC. Next, my Green Bay Packers. They are looking good. They have won 4 out of their last 5. They are 7-3. That offense, still a little inconsistent, still turning the ball over a little bit here, but they're running it pretty darn well. Jacobs, when he's playing well, this offense stays on track for the most part. But now we got to make sure that Love and those receivers start to become a little bit more explosive. We saw Watson have a great game. Now those other guys really need to get it going. That defense is still pretty solid. They looked a little shaky against the Chicago Bears on the ground, but if they can get it together, if they can play a little bit more like they did in the first 2 months, this Packer team is going to be squarely in the playoff race. And if they can get hot, they have the potential to be one of the best in the NFC. Finally, we have the Washington Commanders. They are struggling right now. That offense still looks pretty good. Their statistics are still pretty solid, but they've lost 2 straight. They're going to need to recover, especially that offense. That defense looks a little bit weary. This might be just a small bump in the road. I still think this team is going to be playing some meaningful football well into December. But you did not come here for honorable mentions. You came here for the top 10 teams heading into Week 12. And with number 10, we got the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are really looking solid. They're 6-5, still kind of shaky here and there. But man, that offense, when it's on, it looks like a Sean Payton offense that we used to see in New Orleans with Drew Brees. But that offense is really starting to become a little bit more consistent. And if that defense can continue to play well and that offense can continue to ascend, then we're going to be looking at a team that they can build off over the next few years. Who knows, maybe next year or in 2 years, this Broncos team can kind of get back to what they were in the mid-2010s with Peyton Manning and Von Miller. And next at number 9, we have the Houston Texans, who are coming off a big victory over their fellow Texas team, the Dallas Cowboys. They looked good, a little bit shaky in the beginning, some turnovers, struggling, especially through the air. But man, once they hit their stride, once Nico Collins and this offense really started to gel, they started looking like the team that we kind of saw last year. They're still not as explosive consistently as they used to be. They're still adjusting to not having Stephon Diggs, but they're finding ways to win. They're finding ways to put up points. And this defense is pretty dang good. They are 3rd in the NFL in interceptions, and they are 5th in sacks. So they can get after the quarterback. They create turnovers. And if that offense can continue to get better and gel a little bit more, this is going to be a pretty darn good team. Next, we have the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their division rival, 16-18. It was a little bit of a struggle. Justin Tucker missing 2 big kicks that basically ended up being the difference in this game. Obviously, this offense did not play well either. Derrick Henry did not have his usual big game. Lamar did not have his usual big game. And on top of that, we've seen this defense throughout the entire year not be as good as what we are used to seeing, and that continues. I don't believe this Ravens defense is going to get significantly better, so I think that's just going to put more pressure on this offense to succeed. And when you're dealing with teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Steelers, and some of the teams that we're going to be talking about later on, this Ravens offense cannot have bad days like they did this past week. And that's a big reason and why they fell out of the top 3 all the way down to 8. This team has to figure it out. They need to be more consistent. And at number 7, we have the LA Chargers, who had a big victory over the Bengals. It was looking good in the first half. They were looking solid. It was 27-6. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. And then the Chargers started to charger. If you know, you know. But at the end of the day, the big thing is they didn't. They got the win. And it wasn't one of those, oh, they got a lucky penalty or they just were able to get a field goal. No, they started at their own 16 in regulation. Only a few seconds left on the clock. And not only did they get into field goal range, they took it all the way to the end zone. And they did it through the air and on the ground. And that is something that we have not seen from this team consistently in a long time. Hopefully this game is the catalyst for them to be real contenders in the AFC. Next at number 6, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. No longer undefeated after the tough loss against the Buffalo Bills. They are now 9-1. The 1972 Dolphins can celebrate. They can pop that champagne because the final undefeated team in the NFL has finally been vanquished, and it should come as no surprise because these Chiefs have been towing the line between barely winning and they probably should have lost. It finally caught up to them. Do I think they're going to all of a sudden fall apart? No. These are the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defense is still one of the best in the NFL. They still have some of the biggest names on offense who, no matter what happens, they are going to find ways to create plays. They still made it relatively close against this Bills team who, in my opinion, outplayed them for the entire game. So that's why the Kansas City Chiefs are outside the top 5, but something tells me they'll be climbing the ranks of this power rankings again over the next couple weeks. All right, next we have a team that I have to admit, I feel like I've been overlooking them for a long time, and I finally have to rectify that. Maybe I put them too high, but I think I'm trying to compensate for the lack of putting them on these rankings over the last couple weeks, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. It hurts. I don't like it. It tastes terrible, but these guys have been playing pretty darn well this season. They are 8-2. They started the season 5-0. They lost 2 straight, but since then they have won 3 consecutive games and they are looking pretty solid. I think their defense is back to what they were playing like the first month and a half, and their offense starting to slow down. Some of the big plays, some of the explosive runs are no longer there. They're doing enough to be able to win games, and sometimes that's all you need. No one thought this team would be where they are this year, especially after JJ McCarthy went down with that knee injury. So the fact that this team is 8-2 and they are squarely in the playoff race, and the fact that they are likely going to be able to sew up a playoff spot in early December is a testament to how good they have been this year and how good they're playing very recently. Next, at number 4, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who have continued to look good despite being one of the more dysfunctional teams, at least in terms of their coverage. If you listen to the media or even their own fans, you would think that this team is 2-8 and not 8-2. They are on a 6-game win streak, and they have looked good most weeks. And yeah, the competition may not be as strong, the Cowboys, the Jags, but at the end of the day, not only are they beating the teams that they should, they're dominating these teams as well. And I think that's a testament to a well-coached and a talented team. And that's what this Eagle team is. Their defense is playing darn well, and their offense finally looks like it's starting to kind of get things going a little bit here and there. But we're still in November, and they still have a couple more weeks to go. And if they can start hitting their stride in December into January, then this team can really make a run for it. And it wouldn't be surprising to see them represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Next, we have at number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Good job. Sorry. They did a good job, man. All right, leave me alone. The Buffalo Bills got a big victory, not only against an undefeated team in their conference, but one of their biggest rivals and a team that has had their number. Those losses in the playoffs play a psychological effect, and you could tell, especially late in that game, the way Josh Allen, the way that defense, the way those guys were playing down the stretch, they did not want to lose that game. They wanted to prove to everybody and to the Kansas City Chiefs that we are not going to let you guys beat us at home. And this team has a chance to be able to get the number 1 seed. And if that happens, Kansas City is going to have to go back to Orchard Park and try to knock off this team in January. I like the Bills' chance if that happens. And that is why the Buffalo Bills are the number 3 team in these power rankings. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it should come as no surprise as they knocked off the Baltimore Ravens, who have been one of the best teams in the NFL. Yes, has Baltimore's defense been lackluster? Yes, but they've still been able to really create some turnovers, have been consistent at getting to the quarterback, or at least making the quarterback move. But Pittsburgh found a way to put up enough points to win, and on top of that, they held one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL to just 16 points. Pittsburgh offensively, even though they are kind of middle of the road, maybe a little bit on the back half of the NFL in terms of their rankings, man, they have looked aggressive. They're going to challenge you every single play, and that's all you need, because their defense is one of the best in the NFL at creating turnovers, stopping the run. And right now this team also has a plus 11 turnover differential, which is good for second in the NFL. This team is a perfect 4-0 with Russell Wilson at quarterback. And that is something that I did not think was going to be possible this year. And finally, we reach number 1, and it should come as no surprise. They were number 1 last week, and they did nothing to hurt their chances to be number 1 this week, and it is the Detroit Lions. So 1, you hold a team to 6 points. Yes, it was the Tennessee Titans, but still, that's an NFL team. And then you're able to score over 50 points on offense. Oh, and also they own the number 1 winning streak in the NFL with 8 consecutive now that the Kansas City Chiefs have lost. I've said it many times, the Lions are the most complete team in the NFL. Do they have some weaknesses here and there? Sure, every team does, no matter what. But when it comes to how good their defense is, how good their offense is, how good their special teams and their coaching is, there is not a single team in the NFL that hits the high marks on every single one of those except for one, and that is the Detroit Lions, which is why they are the number 1 team for the 2nd week in a row. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? But come on. You know I'm right. Those are my power rankings heading into week 12. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on Thursday for my predictions video that is going to drop just before the Thursday night game. And I hope to see you guys there. And once again, my name is Dave, and I'm not a coach.